As Donald Trump was throwing a bizarre propaganda event at the White House on July 4th, catastrophe struck the United States in Kerr County, Texas. You saw right there at the outset of this video, that was the flooding from the Guadalupe River. This horrific flash flood after 13 or so inches of rain hit Kerr County has resulted in a mass casualty event. At least 24 people are dead as of this recording after heavy rain lashed Texas, leading to that catastrophic flooding. Children are among the dead. About 23 campers from a summer camp in the area called Camp Mystic are still unaccounted for, and unfortunately it seems the death toll is going to get much higher. While all of that was taking place yesterday, Donald Trump was dancing at the White House to the YMCA when he made Independence Day all about himself. I want you to watch what he was doing yesterday. Then I want to talk about what happened on Donald Trump's flight as he was traveling today. Here, play this clip. Yeah, so also while catastrophe struck, Donald Trump was golfing. He spent a lot of yesterday golfing as well. You had the various departments in the United States government making posts like this, these kind of performative July 4th posts with the wrong number of stars on the American flag, only 45 stars on the flag posted by the Department of Homeland Security. But I guess after the torture they are doing to our Constitution and our freedoms, they are just plucking off one star after the next. You know, I think it's important that we discuss that Donald Trump and his regime were cutting funding from the National Weather Service, degrading their ability to forecast. The Trump regime was cutting funding from the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. Donald Trump's cutting funding from FEMA. He wants to basically get rid of those agencies. And now what we're learning this morning is that Texas officials are blaming the agencies that were gutted by Trump for the results of the deadly storm. Of course, they're all full MAGA in Texas, so they're not saying, oh, it's because of Donald Trump. But I'll play for you what they're saying in their own words so you can hear for yourself and not say, oh, well, you're just trying to do spin, Ben. No, let's just go through it. Our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, wrote this article. I don't see many cable news or any other real news writing articles or covering it this way. So hat tip to our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, because he's just using the words of the Texas officials. And again, experts warned for months about the cuts to the National Weather Service and NOAA. As the best and brightest were being fired at the National Weather Service and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration by these senseless and draconian DOGE cuts earlier this year under Trump, with no reason given except for the need to cut a paltry amount of the government's budgets, experts warned repeatedly that the cuts would have deadly consequences during the storm season, and they have. Dozens and dozens of stories have been written in the media, citing hundreds of experts which said that weather forecasting was never going to be the same, and that inaccurate forecasts were going to lead to fewer evacuations, impaired preparedness of first responders, and deadly consequences. Our editor-in-chief quoted many of them in his daily bulletins and wrote about this issue nearly 20 times. And the chickens have come home to roost. Hundreds of people have already been killed across the United States in a variety of storms, including deadly tornadoes, many of which were inaccurately forecasted. And we're just entering peak hurricane season. Meteorologist Chris Vygotsky posted earlier this spring on social media, the world's example for weather service is being destroyed. Now, after severe flooding in non-evacuated areas in Texas has left at least 24 dead with dozens more missing, including several young girls, at a summer camp, Texas officials are blaming their failure to act on a faulty forecast by Donald Trump's new National Weather Service, gutted by cuts to their operating budget and most experienced personnel. At a press conference last night, one of the officials said, quote, the original forecast we received on Wednesday from the National Weather Service predicted 3 to 6 inches of rain in the Concho Valley and 4 to 8 inches of rain in the Hill Country. The amount of rain that fell in these locations was was never in any of their forecasts. Everybody got the forecast from the National Weather Service. They did not predict the amount of rain that we saw. Hear it in their own words. Let's play this clip.
The original forecast that we received on Wednesday from the National Weather Service predicted 3 to 6 inches of rain in the Concho Valley and 4 to 8 inches of rain in the Hill Country. We worked with our own meteorologists to fine-tune that weather statement, and as many of you know, and many of you in broadcast journalism and meteorology, you can go back and look at your own forecast, and the amount of rain that fell in this specific location was never in any of those forecasts.
This rain event sat on top of that and dumped more rain than what was forecasted on both of those forks. When we got the report, it was about 7 feet or so on the South Fork, and within a matter of minutes, it was up to 29 feet, and all of that converged at the Guadalupe, and that's where we saw those very quick rise in flood.
But listen, everybody got the forecast from the National Weather Service, right? You all got it. You're all in media. You got that forecast. It did not predict the amount of rain that we saw.
Now, in addition to them, the top government official in Kerr County, Judge Rob Kelly, said that he wasn't sure why Camp Mystic and these other camps were not evacuated on time. And he said that he just didn't have all of the information. Here's what he has to say. Play this clip.
Why weren't these camps evacuated yesterday? Texas Department of Emergency Management put out an all call and said there's going to be a problem. We knew there was going to be a problem. Why weren't these camps evacuated?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
Well, you're the judge. I mean, you're the top official here in this county. Why can't you answer that? There are kids missing. These camps were in harm's way. We knew this flood was coming.
We didn't know this flood was coming. Rest assured, no one knew this kind of flood was coming. We have floods all the time. This is the most dangerous river valley in the United States.
I agree.
And we deal with floods on a regular basis. When it rains, we get water. We had no reason to believe that this was going to be anything like what's happened here.
And by the way, that area in Kerr County is like 70% MAGA as well. I wanted to show you this, and you know we've played this clip before. This is John Morales. He's the NBC Miami meteorologist. He's very well respected in that area. And about a month or so, maybe longer than that, Morales was talking about how his forecasts were extremely degraded as a result of the cuts to the National Weather Service. And this was an issue that he was hearing from meteorologists and others who need access to this data across the country. Here, let's play it.
And as you've grown accustomed to my presentations over my 34 years in South Florida newscasts, confidently, I went on TV and I told you it's going to turn. You don't need to worry. It is going to turn. And I am here to tell you that I am not sure I can do that this year, because of the cuts, the gutting, the sledgehammer attack on science in general, and I could talk about that for a long, long time, and how that is affecting the U.S. Leadership in science over many years, and how we're losing that leadership, and this is a multi-generational impact on science in this country, all right? But specifically, let's talk about the federal government cuts to the National Weather Service and to NOAA. Did you know that Central and South Florida National Weather Service offices are currently basically 20 to 40% understaffed? From Tampa to Key West, including the Miami office, 20 to 40% understaffed. Now, this type of staffing shortage is having impacts across the nation because there's been a nearly 20% reduction in weather balloon launches that carry those radiosondes. And what we're starting to see is that the quality of the forecasts is becoming degraded. There's also a chance, because of some of these cuts, that NOAA Hurricane Hunter aircraft will not be able to fly this year, and with less reconnaissance missions, we may be flying blind. And we may not exactly know how strong a hurricane is before it reaches the coastline, like happened a couple of years ago in Hurricane Otis in Acapulco, Mexico. So I was asked to talk about this today. I'm glad I was. I just want you to know that what you need to do is call your representatives and make sure that these cuts are stopped.
You know, and as we're hearing those types of stories as well, the Trump regime continues to clamp down on, or not clamp down on, destroy and degrade the ability of weather forecasters to get their information. We also see that the Defense Department is depriving weather forecasts or sharing their data with meteorologists. They're blocking off the data that they have at the Defense Department. Like, why would you be so cruel and do that unless you are okay with these mass casualty events? I mean, it's absolutely horrible. So yesterday, Donald Trump did not address this catastrophe in Texas. Throughout most of the morning, he didn't. When he was on the airplane on Air Force One, he was asked about it. And then he says, it's terrible. The floods, it's shocking. They don't know the answer yet as to how many people, but it looks like some young people have died. That's his response to all of this. He was partying while this was taking place, made no statements yesterday, made no comments yesterday. And for most of the morning, he said nothing. Play this clip.
Oh, that's terrible. The floods. It's shocking. They don't know the answer yet as to how many people, but it looks like some young people have died. Any federal aid for them? Oh yeah, sure. We'll take care of it. We're working with the governor. It's a terrible thing.
Play for you this clip as well. This is horrific. A nightmare. Here's a lady in a flooded home in Texas with nobody coming to help them. The resources have been severely degraded. You can see for yourself. I mean, she's struggling. Just, can someone send a boat? Can someone send something? And the water's about to rise right where her husband is on the hospital bed. Here, play this clip.
Okay, my house is flooding. Anybody out there? I have my dad on hospice and I need to get him out of here. He's bedridden. He can't walk. He can hardly move. And look where the water is. So somebody, please, we've called 911. It's bad over here in front of the house. It's like a river. I mean, it's like a lake. They can't come look. We've lost our cars, everything. We've lived here for 30 years and this has never happened. So anybody, please, if you have a boat or something, I need help. I need to get my dad out of here. It's starting to smell like sewer in here.
Democratic Congress member Jared Moskowitz, who ran the emergency management department in Florida before becoming a member of Congress, he says the following: "The flood news coming from Texas is devastating. I'm praying for the safe return of all missing kids and mourning for families of the lost. As a former emergency manager, I know it's critical our emergency responders have every tool they need to save lives and deliver relief." And I know you, watching the MeidasTouch Network, know that we've been covering this issue about the degradation of the National Weather Service, of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, of FEMA. We cover it almost every day, if not every. I mean, you see all the times. It's one of the big issues. I've said this is going to become a major issue, and there are going to be people who die in mass casualty events. And we've already seen, remember, in Missouri, remember in St. Louis, in Kentucky, in Mississippi, in Arkansas. Remember all those events that Trump didn't even address at all, where dozens and dozens of people died there. And then Trump rejected FEMA supplemental support for Georgia and North Carolina and other areas that were impacted by Helene. And then remember, they fired the head of FEMA because he said that FEMA should not be totally dismantled. And then you had Kristi Noem saying that FEMA should be totally dismantled. Hey, I'll just show you. Here's Kristi Noem. Just so you go, okay, Ben, they didn't really say dismantle FEMA. No, they did. Here's Kristi Noem, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, which sits above FEMA. I mean, the boss of FEMA is Kristi Noem. Here she is saying, let's get rid of it. We don't think it should exist. Here, play this clip.
But we all know from the past that FEMA has failed thousands, if not millions of people. And President Trump does not want to see that continue into the future. So this agency fundamentally needs to go away as it exists. And we need.
Now, What are MAGA Republicans saying in response to this horrific event? Marjorie Taylor Greene is introducing a bill, she says. She goes, I'm introducing a bill that prohibits the injection, release, or dispersion of chemicals or substances into the atmosphere for the express purpose of altering weather, temperature, climate, or sunlight intensity. It will be a felony offense. I have been researching weather modification and working with the Legislative Council for months writing this bill. It will be similar to Florida's Senate Bill 56. We must end the dangerous and deadly practice of weather modification and geoengineering, so spreading conspiracies. Candace Taylor, a MAGA Republican congressional candidate, writes, fake weather, fake hurricanes, fake flooding, fake, fake, fake. To which Democratic Congressmember Moskowitz responds to Marjorie Taylor Greene. He goes, I'm going to introduce a bill that prohibits the injection, release, or dispersion of stupidity into Congress. Well said, Congressman. Donald Trump on Air Force One moments ago admits that he doesn't really have any trade deals, that he said he was going to do 90 deals in 90 days, and we're basically approaching that deadline now. He's done basically no deals at all. And so he goes, I'm going to send letters. I'm probably going to send 12 letters, he says, whatever that means. Play this clip.
I did. I signed some letters, and they'll go out on Monday, probably 12. 12 different amounts of money, different amounts of tariffs, and somewhat different statements.
Which countries will receive those letters on Monday?
You'll be announced. I have to announce it on Monday. I can't do it.
Mr. President, what do you want to hear from?
And when he says letters, he just means that he's going to tell them what the tariff is. Okay. And he says that's a deal. And then here's what Donald Trump has to say about TikTok. Play it.
Pretty much have a deal. Now we're going to go and ask. I think we're going to start Monday or Tuesday asking, talking to China, perhaps President Xi or one of his representatives. So we pretty much have a deal on TikTok. But we think we probably have to get it approved by China. Not definitely, but probably.
How confident are you that China will agree to that deal?
I'm not confident, but I think so. President Xi and I have a great relationship, and I think it's good for them. I think the deal is good for China, and it's good for us, and for us it's money. You know, we make a lot of money if the deal goes through.
Are you planning to meet with President Xi? Are you planning to go even to China?
Well, I was asked to go there, yeah. He asked me if I'd go, and he would likewise come here.
That soon?
We get along very well. We always have gotten along well.
And then here's what Donald Trump said about Iran's nuclear capabilities when he was landing. Let's play it.
Do you want to hear from Prime Minister Netanyahu on Monday in your meeting?
Well, we're going to have a meeting on Iran, obviously. You know, the success, that was a great success. And blown to pieces, the whole nuclear thing. I would say it's set back permanently. If they were going to do it again, they might as well start in a different location, because that location is totally demolished. They could start, but I would think they'd have to start in a different location. But if they did start, there'd be a problem. We wouldn't allow that to happen. Mr. President, follow-up.
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. And that article by Ron Filipkowski is at MeidasPlus.com if you wanted to check it out. Thanks for watching.
New Meidas merch drop! Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more. All at store.MeidasTouch.com.